This is WXYZ, where 7 stands for news.
Emotions run high when charges are reduced against a Detroit police officer who killed an innocent 11-year-old boy. Also, it's Election Day in Detroit, in a contest that has bitterly divided parts of the community. Plus, sexual harassment, do you know it when you see it, will put you to the test. A judge's decision enrages members of the Hispanic community. Good evening, I'm Robbie Timmons.
And I'm Frank Turner. The case involves a Detroit police officer and the shooting death of an 11-year-old boy.
Today, charges were reduced against Officer Glenn Price. He was off duty when he opened fire during an argument with another man. A bullet from his gun ended the life of Freddie Vela. Now, Vela was charged with second-degree murder.
My hand, that's what they're trying to do. My little nephew was a great little kid.
Vela was charged with second-degree murder, but now he is charged with involuntary manslaughter, and the victim's family just cannot understand it. Channel 7's Mary Conway was in the courtroom today, joins us now with the latest. Mary?
Very, very upset about this decision by the judge. The prosecutor says Officer Price never should have had his weapon drawn in the first place. He did that after crashing his truck into a tree after leaving a bar. A crowd gathered and Price fired a shot to scare another man who he apparently thought was tampering with his truck. But he ended up fatally shooting Vela.
I mean, you lost a little boy, and for something like this to happen, it's just devastating, we're just upset.
If a police officer can get away and not be charged second-degree murder for this, I mean, every officer might as well go ahead and start shooting everybody.
Family and friends reacted bitterly to Judge Claudia Garton's decision to reduce the charges against Detroit police officer Glenn Price in connection with the shooting death of 11-year-old Freddie Vela. Price had crashed his car after leaving a bar on Woodward last July. He admits that he pulled his service revolver and fired a shot to stop a man who was tampering with the vehicle. But the shot hit 11-year-old Freddie Vela, an innocent bystander, and pierced his heart. Judge Garton bound Price over on a charge of involuntary manslaughter rather than second-degree murder, and she dropped a separate charge of using a firearm to commit a felony.
This court finds there's no evidence to show that the defendant intended to shoot anyone, nor that the shooting was directed specifically at the victim, Freddie Vela.
It's still our position that he committed no crime, but he's obviously relieved at the judge's decision, but there's a long way to go in the case also.
There was no reason for him to even have his firearm drawn in the first place. Obviously, bullets do not have eyes, and if you're firing a high-powered weapon within the residential area, houses are there, people are there.
A prominent member of the Hispanic community claims that Judge Garton delayed her decision because of Tuesday's election and reduced the charges because the victim was Hispanic.
And I resent that a judge would hold the justice hostage. Justice delayed is justice denied. That individual wanted to cause harm to someone, and he is responsible for the results. I take great offense to this, and the reason she can reach the conclusion is because she doesn't care about the Hispanic community, plain and simple. Let the jury decide.
Judge Garton refused to speak to us on camera today, but she denies the accusation that politics played a role. The officer's next date in court is November 28th, and that would have been little Freddie's 12th birthday.
Thank you very much, Mary.
Thanks, Mary. Well, thousands of people in Detroit headed back to the polls today. Members of the NAACP are electing a new president for the Detroit chapter of the civil rights organization. With more than 20,000 card-carrying members, it is the largest chapter in the country. The candidates are 2 prominent Detroit ministers. Challenger James Hawley is taking on incumbent President Wendell Anthony, and the election is not without controversy over the involvement of big labor. Channel 7's Val Clark has more on the story in this live-action camera report. Val?
Frank, this polling place is a UAW hall, and many people, including Challenger Reverend Hawley, feel that's inappropriate, that labor is playing far too big a role in this particular election. However, others point out that labor has always been involved with the NAACP. I tell you what, judging by the long lines that we have seen throughout this day at both polling places, it is the members who are making this election their own. Faithful members of the National Organization for the Advancement of Colored People were out early, packing the polls. They were joined by a who's who of politics and labor, some just voting, others actively campaigning. The mood was positive in the Anthony and Hawley camps. Both candidates expressing what they have done to deserve the office of president.
We have just settled the Fabio case with AAA, creating 2 credit unions in this community, as well as a reduction in insurance people who have been overcharged. We've just moved to take over $881,000 to Rwanda, an African nation. No other branch in history has done that. Food, clothing, and medicine.
First of all, I've demonstrated in the last 2 years that, programs